Hello, everybody, and welcome to our newest Session Zero for a once-a-month Monday campaigns. Tentatively titled American Dreamlands, but who knows? Who knows? Okay, so this is going to be perhaps the most question. This might be the least.
This is the most we figured out on stream before doing it. We've
Thank
had
you.
very little pre-talk about
Yes.
it, so we're just kind of figuring things out now.
Thank you, Jay.
Which is-
you might be running
which
the
is-
stream now.
Which is a diplomatic way of saying we have literally not discussed the premise of this campaign once since
No.
we brought it up. Like, it's been so far back in the radar, I legitimately did not know we were streaming until about an hour before the stream.
Oh, well, yes. Okay, so, okay. So, basically,
Love that bee so much.
everybody's getting the emotes they want but Jay. Sorry, Jay.
It's the worst. Twitch hates me.
Yeah, Soup finally got her tea. Marty got the cute bee. Okay.
I love that bee so much. It's so
a good
cute.
bee.
Okay. So I have done a couple Andy Makes a Friends about these things. We don't have to use any of that. Especially because I did 3 episodes, and then the third episode was me going, you know what? And threw away all the stuff in the first 2 episodes. So, I have a bunch of stuff written down. None of it matters. It's all fine. Okay. So basically, I'm here to kind of talk to you all and figure out what you want. I had originally envisioned this as using the 5th edition rules, just because it is the one I am the most comfortable running. I will run Call of Cthulhu if everyone's just like, Andy, please run Call of Cthulhu. I'll do it. We could also do a thing, if I can find the book for it. Can't find the book for it. Where the hell is it?
Well, I guess we're not doing
here
your
it is.
thing. Oh, I guess we are doing your thing.
There's also this set of rules, which is Whispers in the Dark. And this is ostensibly a rules light version of 5th edition without classes. And it's an investigative, it's a Call of Cthulhu hack for 5th edition. So it's a D20 system. It technically takes place during Reconstruction, but I mean, there's nothing stopping you from changing when it takes place. And Reconstruction isn't that different than many of the time periods we talked about, like technology-wise kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, but there was no jazz during Reconstruction, which makes it worse.
Well, so that is I had sent out a survey, and you all talked about the kind of the time periods you were interested in. So I just want to kind of talk to you all about what do you want? Do you want it to be? Which rules edition? Do you want it to be close to real life, kind of more hewing towards Dungeons and Dragons? I got an emote. I'll have to see what I got in a second. So yeah, I just kind of want to, like Jay said at the beginning, this will be the most I think we've ever figured out on stream together, and I just kind of want to build it, as a group. Although Empire of Leaves, we figured out a lot on stream. This even more so. Of what do we want to do?
Empire of Leaves we invented on stream.
So, yeah. Oh, the other thing is, if we play 5th edition, I have this rulebook which has some alternate rules in it. I know Timothy is familiar with it. We've talked about it briefly.
Chef's kiss.
You can play a cat,
I'm
Okay.
so into
Like,
playing a cat.
Yeah.
like a cat.
What? You playing a cat? Never. That's so out of character
I
for
know,
you.
I know,
never
I
would have
know.
guessed.
I know. That's true. But you can be a sorcerer, and your sorcerer's origin is familiar.
Mm-hmm.
You're another character's familiar if you're a cat. It's pretty
See,
cool.
funnily enough, I have a character in mind who would synergize very well with that.
Well, that could work.
We don't have to do it, but like it's an option. It is definitely an option.
Where are all my pride emotes? This sucks.
Twitch.
Oh,
Twitch.
oh, I like that one.
Ugh.
Okay.
Oh, that is very cute.
Okay. So, basic thoughts. Otherwise, I will continue talking and talk about what I was kind of the basic thing I was thinking of. But otherwise, Timothy, what interests you? How did you want to kind of approach this?
Well, I love 5e. I love the system. I like the idea of using that as a base, and I haven't heard of the Whispers. I guess I've heard of Whispers in the Dark, but not even to the degree that you've explained it, had it any spelled out at all. It sounds familiar. One of my IRL campaigns is called Whispers in the Underdark, so I'm wondering if the DMs is a riff off of that. This is very possible. I will ask them. But to return to our topic, I'm kind of open, and this may be frustrating or liberating. I'm kind of very open about this. I'm interested in the group. I'm interested in the players. I'm interested in the sort of tonal implications of just this kind of campaign. Horror, weirdness, trippy kind of stuff. In any era, as you mentioned, I'm familiar with that book. I am adapting some of those things in a game I'm running from the book, so I think it's an amazing resource, and I think it could be cool. So, like I said, I'm being really open, but as long as I'm not this way, if I have to be a tiebreaker, I think it's okay, at least for now. I just hope that I'm interested to hear what other people have to say. But just as I'm the first person speaking besides you, that's what I'll say so far, and have more to add as we sort of evolve the idea, I guess.
Okay, totally. Mm-hmm. Daniel, do you have any kind of opening thoughts?
First of all, weirdly enough, I feel like it's not often that people use my full name. It's usually Dan. Maybe that's just my perception.
What do you prefer?
I don't really have Dan and Daniel. I both really like, actually. I quite like my name. That sounds a little bit egotistical now that I say it out loud.
Oh.
I'm gonna pretend I never did. So I like the idea of if we're doing a pure Lovecraftian setting, I would want to do Prohibition era, sort of the traditional, like 1890s to Prohibition era, that kind of setting. Probably in the Northeast, and sort of a more traditional one. That, unfortunately, is more of a Call of Cthulhu setting. When you actually said Whispers in the Underdark, though, I kind of got a different idea, because if we are going to be running 5e, which seems to be what we're leaning towards, why not make it an aberration-focused, like, traditional D&D campaign?
Sure.
Where we're fighting, like, Neolithids and Mind Flayers and just essentially Lovecraftian stuff, but in a D&D setting. And that struck me as interesting because I think it would be easier to adapt to 5th edition. But again, I haven't read that Whispers in the Dark book yet. So that's my contribution. I also have a very good... Okay, I'm tooting my own horn. I have a character idea for if we do a 1920s Prohibition era type thing. And otherwise, I'm probably going to need to think a little bit. But you know me, I have like 40 character ideas that I'm never going to use at any given time. Same as all other D&D players.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah. Jay, tell us about your 40 ideas.
Well, I like the idea of doing it in 5th because the idea of there being... Because normally in any sort of Cthulhu-based thing you're doing, like, there is magic, but using magic is a really bad idea unless you want to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of having magic in a Cthulhu-based campaign that does not drive you insane immediately seems really interesting to me.
And just to kind of, not to interrupt you, I'm going to let you finish. But no, that is kind of one of the things I wanted to do with not doing Call of Cthulhu. We did the Call of Cthulhu. It was really fun, but it's you're not the heroes. You're running away all the time. I wanted to be it to just feel a little more heroic, where you can cast magic and it will do something, and you won't be driven irrevocably mad. Like, so that's definitely something. One of the reasons why I thought maybe let's try 5e, and then
I actually, that does bring up an idea that I just had. I will wait till after Jay is done, though.
Okay. I don't know if I have a whole lot more other than that. A whole lot depends, like, setting-wise, where we going. If we're going to do new setting, new characters. If we're going to do new setting, maybe old characters. We'll need to figure that out as we go, because
Sure.
I don't mind a new character, but there are a couple I wouldn't mind bringing in. But one of them would be pretty dependent on Dan wanting to bring in a character.
I have a question as to which character.
Interesting. Well, I think I know.
Well, I mentioned an artificer earlier, so...
How do you feel about bringing the barbarian back, Daniel?
Yep.
Korg?
Korg
Dude,
ready.
Korg's
ready for Eldritch adventures.
Dude, that could be cool.
Korg's aesthetic fits Lovecraftian.
Very metal. Yeah, it's very Mandy, right?
Yeah, like I can just picture him, on some metal album cover where he's fighting some giant tentacle monster that's illuminated in the sky.
I will say, if we are doing that, we would have to do a more traditional D&D setting, because I feel as though Korg fits best into a slightly more traditional D&D setting.
Yeah.
The idea that I had, that I got from what Jay was saying, is essentially we are like 10, 15 years after an Eldritch Reckoning, essentially, where we have had this collision between the human world and the Eldritch world, and they have, mashed together and done horrible shit. So essentially, yes, still 1920s, essentially, but by now everybody knows about the Eldritch nonsense. Some people have even learned to harness it, have learned to do magic. In response, there's sort of I imagine that there is kind of a priesthood that has unlocked their abilities and are using it to fight against the Eldritch magics. That is sort of another idea that I had, but now that Jay has mentioned bringing Korg back, it's like,
because both of those characters fit Lovecraft really well.
It is really fun, and they just work so well together.
So I have. So let me. I don't even know where to start.
Go ahead. Can I just say a couple things just after, just things that I like hearing what you had to say, Andy, about wanting to have characters not be running away from things that will certainly destroy them, but to be the guys who are running in the burning building instead. The heroes, the good guys, whether they know it or not, you know what I mean? Because I think D&D make characters a little tougher. Call of Cthulhu, you're like basically a balloon with blood, and you're gonna get popped pretty quickly, or your brains will boil, or the blood is gonna boil or something, right? I like the idea of the Call of Cthulhu, bonkers, eldritch terror, horror, dread, whatever you want to call it, mechanic, where it feels really dangerous, but not overwhelming automatically, and certainly overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like, I like it to be. It makes me think of what is that called? Like a meat grinder kind of mode when you playing games, just where it's really dangerous and everybody knows it, but it's not like, and it's really dangerous, and if I get hit once, I'm dead.
Yeah,
you know, it's
and certainly we can amp up that meat grinder feel. Use meat grinder rules. Use alienation or sanity rules, kind of thing.
Right.
Where,
sanity. That's right.
Yeah, your character may not die, but they may become an NPC under my control because their mind has been so disattached from this reality by
They've
all of
seen
the things
too much.
Seen.
Right.
Korg used counter charm just the whole time.
Look,
just to be safe.
Korg loves ghosts. That's what I remember from that campaign.
Oh, he sure does. Totally no bad experiences with ghosts taking away half of his lifespan.
I'm a little resistant to a 1920s setting, just because I feel like it inevitably deals with America, or I mean maybe Europe, but just a lot of stuff about Lovecraft that I don't like.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? That's sort of, not that we have to address, but I don't. You know what I mean? It's just there's elements of it that I don't like, and I don't know that I want to wallow in. And not that we'd wallow in them.
No,
anything, but you know,
but it is worth talking about.
Sure.
Howard Philip Lovecraft was a terrible person.
Oh yes.
I'll give us, I guess I have the authority to kind of, if we are going to do this, give us quote unquote the pass, but like I get it.
Well, like he was just not a good dude, and a lot of his stuff deals with a weird, even for the time, archaic form of racism. Like he was even out of date for when he was writing. But no, and certainly I would not want to. I certainly would not want to wallow in that stuff. It does not feel good. That's not the kind of the horror-y parts of Lovecraft that I like focus more on like the idea that there's just stuff that's unknowable, and that's not the race. I don't want to, not othering of people kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not explaining this well. There's just a lot's happening in chat. I like that one. Did you get the emote you wanted yet, Chad?
No, I don't.
Is it the koala bear?
Not the koala bear. It's the little pride who I want.
Because I like the koala bear that
the koala koala bear is very good.
It's the ace of spades. That's so clever.
These emotes are very cute.
Yes, they're very well thought out.
Still don't like that Twitch is doing loot boxes for Pride emotes, but I'll let it slide.
They do it every season.
You're supporting people you like? That's the only thing
I mean, ultimately, like, I'm throwing money at Andy right now is what's happening.
Yeah,
so.
which I will maybe even give to a charity this month. What was I going to say? So anyway, so certainly, if we do a Prohibition era, which I have several ideas on, we could just say, look, it's not real America in the Prohibition era. It's a better America. Like, it's one that's just that we don't have to deal with that. Women can do whatever they want. People of color are harassed. And granted, that might also just feel hollow, and maybe we should just make a fantasy setting that does all that stuff anyway. But we could
generally speaking, I feel like Eldritch abominations attacking from the Nether would sort of unite some people, maybe across lines that really should have been united across 300-400 years ago.
Oh, so you're positing that the post incursion would create the Ozymandias effect?
A little bit.
I mean, it is a literal. It is. He does bring an Eldritch horror.
Yeah, poor bastard. Poor little Eldritch horror got bopped. Had a bad day.
Um,
That's interesting, actually.
Okay.
That sort of makes it feel like it sort of incorporates, I don't know, reality and plausibly addresses things. I mean, it's also something, lines and veils and all that kind of stuff too. But I don't know. I don't have a specific end when I bring this up. It's just something that I think about.
Sure.
You know,
Um,
when I went to Necronomicon in Providence this past summer last year, and it was awesome. It was really cool, and to their credit, they address the full roundness of the dude and his legacy exhaustively in seminars and stuff. But even so, it's just something that's been in my consciousness more sort of in a forebrain in a front burner kind of way lately,
Which is
and
very
even
fair.
before any of this, and now especially with what's been going on with addressing racial inequality and stuff in the country and systemic violence. So it's just something he has come up. I had a picture of him on my fridge, which I took off. So stuff like that. So anyway.
Yeah, and it's certainly worth considering and talking about. And yeah, I certainly don't want to ignore that yeah, he's just a problematic dude. Like, he doesn't get any money from this, which is nice.
No,
no,
never.
Right.
But then, then I think about, like, I don't know if any of you guys saw the essay that Nick Cave wrote about Morrissey and about separating his politics and his views from his art. Morrissey, the creator of this, the bandmate of the Smiths and all of that, is a terrible fucking racist. And Nick Cave addressed the dilemma in this open letter, just saying, like, we can separate the music. Like, he wasn't the only guy. The music is the thing. It has its own context that you as the listener have, all of that. So, I think that's possible.
Yeah, that works more for something like a band, though, where
Sure.
it's more than one person.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, and
Absolutely.
I guess...
Well, all I'm just saying is that the mythos has always been more than just him.
Oh, at this point, absolutely. Like,
but even at its inception, because he was sharing it with writers, too.
It's the same with Orson Scott Card and
you wrote 2 good books and then went off the deep end.
Right.
And it's the same with
Yes, you're right. Never meet your heroes, right?
Never meet your heroes, for
It
sure.
might be too recent. I don't know if I should bring it up or
Well,
not.
it's relevant.
It is.
But there is always the eternal debate of, the death of the artist or separating the artist from their work. And I think there are many valid viewpoints on all spectrums of that. With Eldritch, because I even saw someone recently that was just like, I refuse to use the word Lovecraftian because what we like isn't even Lovecraftian anymore. It's Eldritch horror kind of thing.
I've always liked the term Eldritch horror way more.
So and that's something that I had to think about and kind of internalize maybe a little bit of. Do I care about Yog-Sothoth or whatever? It's cool to have a name that people recognize, but do I care about that, or am I just going to make up my own elder god anyway, which I've done before? And
even then, I feel like it's the sort of thing where if, like, Lovecraft had not brought that up into the consciousness or made it a thing, someone else would have anyway eventually. It's like the idea of cosmic horror, one of the reasons it took off is because it was universal enough that someone would have done it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, other people were.
Mary Shelley definitely is a person who existed.
She invented science fiction and she did a good job of it, but if she hadn't, someone else eventually would have.
I will say, if you ever get the chance, look up the story, like everything to do with how
Right.
how she invented science fiction is just amazing story, start
It's
to finish.
bonkers.
Great
Also,
story.
my favorite part about Frankenstein is it's a story told to someone about someone else written in a letter to another person. Like, it's like 8 degrees of storytelling. It's like the sea captain is telling his sister, but Victor told the sea captain, and at some point, the monster is telling Victor what Victor. It's like, it's what were you on right now?
It's like
Mary?
a telephone game.
Oh,
Yeah.
a lot of drugs.
A lot.
Like,
A
just
lot of
an
drugs.
insane
Almost
amount of
certainly a lot of
drugs.
Just
drugs.
like
She and her lover just did obscene amount of drugs with their
You know what would be
friends.
really funny is if you could somehow backtrace that as and identify it as a telephone game gone wrong, where it's like it was originally one story and someone else misheard it, and then it got extrapolated into what we have today.
The weird thing is, I would believe that.
Here's my manuscript about a sea captain who misses his sister.
Right,
What's this? What's this monster on page 50? A what now?
You've heard it here, folks. Frankenstein is a game of broken telephone run through Google Translate 4 times.
then
It'll happen.
back.
According to Alan Moore, who is a very interesting adapter of HP, and
we've
with
not
addressing
discussed the
addressing
campaign
all
at
the
all.
problems.
This stuff is important to talk about, I do think.
Okay.
No, sorry, not. Obviously, that stuff's important to talk about. I'm sorry I brought up the Mary Shelley thing because while Mary Shelley is cool, I don't think she's relevant.
Also important. Always important. Wouldn't be here without Mary Shelley.
That's true.
That horny teenager.
You're
She
right,
would.
and it makes me upset.
So,
Many of our greats were horny teenagers.
I mean, when you think about it. Okay. So, but to Dan's point, so there's a couple things. Timothy has expressed a valid concern about the Prohibition era. But so there's a couple things we could do. We could, one, take an existing D&D setting and just crank the Eldritch to 11. We could just set it in the Forgotten Realms. We could set it in one of the homebrews, crank it to 11. It's all Underdark and all that stuff. We could do a homebrew that is perhaps a post-apocalyptic Eldritch, like the Eldritch horror showed up 15 years ago. You won, but at what cost? Or you did win, but now we're all aware of it, kind of thing. We could do the idea of like something like the Forgotten Realms. What does the Forgotten Realms look like if it ever progressed time-wise instead of just being kind of roughly the same era it's been for 500 years? What does the Forgotten Realms look like if it gets Prohibition era technology kind of thing? What does Prohibition look like in the Forgotten Realms? Is it prohibiting magic? That kind of thing.
I love that idea so much.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Like
One is
Waterdeep,
really good.
1920.
And that lets us kind of use any ideas that we kind of have. Like I guess everyone's in fantasy. The tropes are giant apocalypse, dragon apocalypse, demon apocalypse. No one ever really thinks about the Illithid apocalypse, and I love that idea a lot. And I'm like kind of leaning heavily towards that now.
Interesting. So, steampunky?
Hey, yeah, steampunky. So maybe like Eberron plus 50 years kind of thing.
Tesla.
Ooh,
Sure.
can we do Eberron, please?
Well, I mean, it
Swahag-
feels Eberonic.
Do I have Eberron?
Just what we're
Swahagan.
describing. If it's Forgotten Realms plus time and advancement, then it kind of could be Eberron or Eberron.
Please, Papa, may I
Eberron.
have Eberron for
Oh,
dessert?
good.
If you put us in Eberron, I might be making
There it is.
a Warforged.
Oh, make a wolf. I insist.
Yep.
I know exactly the character I would make if we do any sort of like even remotely close to a 1920s style technology setting. Eberron, I just make them a changeling. That's the only change I make. Everything else stays the same.
Okay.
What are you thinking of, Jay? Your character, if it's Eberron.
Warforged artificer with an emphasis on healing.
Rescue.
I was thinking of an old-timey radio host bard.
Like a crooner.
Congratulations, you have now inspiration. Wata!
The last
D6
one.
with any of your D20 rolls. For a limited time only lasts 10 minutes. Call now.
Shit.
Okay,
Inspiring the nation in the face of the
Sonic.
This program brought to you by what was his name? Oh God, the character Powers for RPG played.
Chimkin?
Yeah, brought to you by Chimkin's Tonic for
Chimkin.
female insanity.
Yes, Chimkin's asthma cigarettes.
Asthma.
Just a snake oil salesman. Yeah.
I mean,
I would just
I love
rewatch the
Chimkin.
first 10 episodes of that show and just repeat references from that.
I mean, he went and he found like all real old timey snake oil things. Like those are all real references to things.
Funnily
For
enough,
female troubles.
Female
this
complaints or
this
whatever
is
it
a true
was.
story. My dad dug up a bunch of old newspapers on a construction site. It's like he actually found one from like the Arab-Israeli war, which was like, oh, this is like historically important. This is like a historically important document. And then in the ads, it was like, do you suffer from the female condition? Well, try this bullshit. And it was like, this is a paper of record that just contains that. Guys, sexism may be bad.
Yes, it is. That's not a maybe. That's a definite.
Yeah, hot take of the episode, I think. No.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to do politics in this mixture of fantasy and sci-fi. Sorry, I can do half politics.
Keep your politics out of my genre-jumping D&D game we're playing. Okay.
Chipkin was such a great character. I'm sorry. Back to focus.
Okay. So I do feel like we have a lot of ideas out here that have piqued interest amongst folks. So where do we want to start to kind of pivot
Narrow
and
focus.
Put our chips?
When you mentioned 1920s technology, Eberron, my brain started releasing a lot of dopamine at once. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
Okay, my only concern about
He's
that
all
is
doped up.
I have to learn a lot about Eberron. I have the book, so I can read it. I can certainly read it. But
It's your Eberron, though.
But it could just be my Eberron. I mean, and if
My
it's
Eberron, it was made for me.
especially if it's
I hate that I understand that reference, Jay.
Don't. Junji Ito's a good author.
What manga is that even from?
Amagara Fault.
ooh, it's got a
Yeah, that one.
It is very good. If you haven't actually read it, do.
Okay, well, part of this is like, how far would I have to actually read in here? This is a camping.
Were you wondering if you'd be ready in a month?
That is certainly a
Factor.
I'd have to read like 200 pages.
Realistic.
That's an afternoon. Come
Oh
on.
yeah.
I mean, realistically, you need to know the place names, given how much cities tend to change over whatever 600 years.
Yeah, and
Okay, 400 years.
but okay, so my only thought on that is, would Prohibition era Eberron be like that different from Prohibition era the Forgotten Realms? They would be, but like,
I mean, it doesn't have to be Eberron.
No,
I'm
of
just
course.
suggesting the Eberron flavor.
oh yeah,
for
yeah,
the-
and
right?
and everyone could be a Warforged, like do that. We could also just do I could just make up a fantasy setting, like it's just like, and it's just
I have
Eberron.
no issue with the same sort of campaign being in Eberron or Forgotten Realms or Andyland.
It's
Andyland?
It's Hatopia. Thank you.
Hatopia.
Add to the list of Dread Realms.
I like Andyland.
Andyland?
It's a
It could
bizarre evil realm.
Could be
Like,
Andyland.
Have you ever seen like those really bad maps? By the way, I like the incredible shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Have you ever seen those really bad like first-person shooter maps where everything is one texture? I'm picturing that, but it's just Andy's face over and over and over
God.
again.
You see,
and
what I
that's-
imagined was the Super Mario 64 mod that replaces everything with Toad's face.
We're on the same page here.
Yep.
now I'm thinking of Jerry Hawkins' Drawn and Courtier parallel dimension where everything was drawn in Courtier.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it would be Diesel Punk tutorial.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
Steampunk tutorial.
That is true.
I swore never to be that guy.
Did you push up your glasses? I wasn't looking. As long as you pushed
Yes,
up your
yes, you
glasses.
did.
Okay,
I
good.
did. Actually,
There could
and
even be. I mean, if there's an incursion aspect to this, like if the invaders have their own tech that is not like anything we're used to, like illithid tech or whatever.
giant psionic
Is there
cannons and
well?
shit.
Is there some degree of overlap and adaptation? Like the people who are in resistance or in combat or at the ready, if it's this sort of dimensional border, crossing where they could pop out in at any time or whatever. There must be some adaptation and like, okay, what is this new tech? What is this thing? Some people start to get savvy with it. Some people, I don't know. It's just another
And
possible
some people
wrinkle
start radio
slash-
shows where they advertise cures for female insanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Just for possibilities.
Yeah,
you know
of
what I mean,
course.
to mix it up. Not to further complicate things for you as world builder. But
no, but that certainly is a.
what appeals to you, Andy?
I was about to ask the same.
Yeah, Andy.
Mental high five.
What they said.
I like any story where you all feel like you're being served, not in a bad, not in like you've been served.
You got
So a
served.
Yeah.
dance contest.
Yeah.
With
Yes,
Cthulhu.
I want dance contests,
if
and I've
we're
been
doing
trying
dance
to work
contests-
it out, and nobody wants to do it.
If we're doing dance contests, I have to bring Cord because he can cut a rug, both literally and
Yeah, I was gonna say,
metaphorically.
like, you just get near the rug and something's gonna poke into it.
Spikes on
and-
shoulders for decoration, but spikes on wrists are very practical.
And then you got served to the streets. I don't think that's the same series. I like any story where the heroes can kind of be heroes and found family and that kind of stuff, which is why I kind of did want to pivot away from Call of Cthulhu, because that's harder to do in Call of Cthulhu.
Found family in Call of Cthulhu.
I mean, that part-
sounds very, just so traumatic.
Marty has a very good point in chat. Okay, so basically, if you're all happy, I'll be happy. I know that's not a very helpful answer. I'm into the idea of Eberron, but I don't want our first stream experience with Eberron to be like, hey, it's Eberron, but I changed everything.
Right.
Kind of thing.
I think I am leaning now towards Eldritch Torrel. We are maybe after/during a big mind flayer invasion. If we're during the invasion, maybe my character's doing like war propaganda on the radio, like, hey, you want to put a bullet in your best man's gun for the illithid invasion? Support war bonds, Waterdeep war bonds. Call 1-800-Waterdeep war bonds today.
Very long phone number.
We just invented these phones. We haven't quite gotten the science down yet.
15 digits is easily remembered.
All right, look, we don't have. You know how many combinations there are for 15 digits? I think we could easily get that down to 7.
That's crazy talk.
What's interesting about adapting Toril? Sorry, let me just spit this out quick before, not since you already interrupted, Andy. Sorry, but is maybe technology is the way for non-magic using people to sort of
level the playing field.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, like the typewriter changed things for certain demographics historically, or just considering the plus time aspect. The thing that Bright failed spectacularly at with its premise, among many other things, but just the idea of fantasy world plus time does not equate our world with, you have to really think about it.
Yeah.
So,
Timothy, we don't talk about Bright on this stream.
Too late. The show that must not be named.
That's so bad.
I know.
But Onward, I think, is a good example of a magic world plus time. It's, learning magic is hard, everybody, and I can just flip a switch and all the lights go on. Well,
right.
That's easy.
Right.
So easy. I also like the idea that there because we already have a setting in which sort of there are some people who can just do magic innately. I like the idea that there are sort of people who have almost become good at it by accident but don't really use it that much, and that's kind of I feel like that's where my character would fit in, but sorry, continue.
Interesting. No, I like that idea of it's a sorcerer, but they don't know they're a sorcerer because they've never had to do magic.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they do know they're a sorcerer,
come on.
It's oh yeah, I can dislocate my thumb. It's the same as that, but there's so much shit already in the world that to get good at sorcery would take so much more effort and okay, look, I could be a sorcerer and risk my life for a living, or I could just become a lawyer or a radio host or something.
But you don't have any incentive to use it. It's almost if you're a mutant in the Marvel universe, and you just don't have a useful power that has ever come up, and you may not know you're a mutant. If you're just I can dislocate every bone in my body. It's never come up before, so it's not very useful.
By the way, I'm sorry.
I can breathe in liquid, but only Coke Zero.
Yeah. Or one of my favorite mutants who does not have a useful power. His skin is just blue. That's it. He's a drug dealer because I can't join the X-Men. My skin is blue.
Why wouldn't... I feel like they should at least let him on campus, but that's aside the point.
He was in
just
mutant
let him, you can let him hang out. Come on.
I'm sure he would have been welcome. Or not. Professor X is sometimes a terrible person who's only training
he would have been welcome until he started selling drugs to the kids.
Yes. And he was
X-Men has some of the best character writing of all the superhero franchises, I feel, but that's a different conversation.
But that's a different conversation.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's the long comic series. It's had its ups and downs.
Okay.
Oh, Marty had just typed the words Radio Free Waterdeep in chat, and I can't unthink that.
Okay.
I might have used that, Marty.
Oh, it's public domain now. You lost all rights to it, Marty. You put it into the ether. That's not how any of that works. Okay. How do we feel about Waterdeep in 1923?
Sure. I think it's cool.
Fan.
We could play Descendants of characters.
We could.
You could, and also...
Let's presuppose that those characters, or at least progeny, survive, right?
Yeah, and it depends on what kind of character they are, because if they're an elf, they might still technically be alive. But the other thing is, Jay,
if just you... Nella still around.
Nella.
Yeah.
She would be.
But Jay, I know you mentioned wanting to play Izza again, and the thing is, after the last crossover they were in, they could have been transported to the future. Like, if you did want to do that, and you wanted to play, then you could also play like kind of fish out of water a little bit.
Fish out of water deep.
And you went from being like the most technologically advanced person to now being almost like, oh, that gun is quaint kind of thing. Like, not quite, but
That's interesting. Like being among at the cutting edge of tech where you're from, and then suddenly being like, oh, and they're like, okay, catch up, remedial boy or whatever, like.
Guys, what if the kissed coin is up for auction again? Like, it's been so many 100 years. It's like
Korg and Isabel buy it.
They rename it the Gun Show.
That's a good name for a fucking establishment. As much as I hate guns,
it's just it's someone who's really jacked and someone who has. Just
I understand that.
Firepower.
I grok the innuendo.
Check out this gun, literally.
Oh my god!
Flex, but also there's a gun.
Okay. Okay.
Oh god, it being haunted by Dance Lab's ghosts.
Just joining the 18 other ghosts that already live there. How are you doing? Okay.
Specifically haunting the mimosa machine.
This setting keeps getting better and better.
Okay.
I'm actually really on board for 1920s Waterdeep now.
So I was going to say, we could also just do a different fantasy setting in the 20s. Suburbia, for instance.
I'm going to leave that up to you.
Or Waterdeep, or just a new fantasy setting.
I will say, I love Suburbia, like, just so much. And I've been like, the meme with Squidward watching SpongeBob and Patrick run around? That's like me watching Suburbia.
Well, it'll still be there after we're done. So I hope to revisit it. Let me think. And I've sort of introduced some Eldritch bits to that. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. They had to fight a tentacle monster the other day. Okay.
I will defer to you ultimately, but I like the 1920s fantasy setting a lot.
What does everyone think? Let me change the name, because it's not applicable anymore.
How many people are in chat?
I think it's just
4.
I think it's...
What do the 4 people in chat think?
Well, two of those 4 people are us.
Yes.
Weird.
I'm there and Dan's there.
So there's a multiverse aspect already.
It's just Cece and Marty, I think.
See, what do you two think? Cece and Marty.
The same way it's like usually.
I'm not gonna try to tilt you in favor of something, but if we do time skipped Waterdeep, you can haunt us as the ghost of Dancelap and Viari.
See?
Just say Viari.
Those names are one syllable off, and I get them backwards all the time, and I hate it.
Honestly, that's fair though.
They're both. They're not that.
But
similar.
Viari is not a U.
But they're very. Yeah, the name is very similar.
Vianti is a Uanti.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think that right after I get it backwards.
But right, that's the mnemonic. As redundant as that may be.
Just add some Republic City to any town Fantasy USA after whatever Mage War level apocalypse happens. That was Marty's suggestion.
I do like Republic City. That was an inspiration for something.
I don't know what Republic City is.
It's the main setting of Korra. The Legend of Korra. It's Waterdeep in the 20s. I mean, it's like a fantasy city in the 20s, and there's lots of people who talk like this, and there's sports, and then there's this dude who tries to take away people's magic powers. It's a
This
real
week on
shit
Goat
show.
Ball,
Oh,
Storm of
goodness.
Stars and Vinny Chesterfield
Goat-
once again pull out a victory.
Goat Ball confirmed in the Icewind Dale book. I called it. I didn't call it, but I played it 2 years ago.
I do
Hire me.
want whatever setting this is. I do want Major League Goat Ball.
Now I'm just thinking about Amon from Korra with a transatlantic accent coming out from under that spooky mask and just...
Yeah. I'm secretly a blonde bender.
And apparently Skeletor from the sound of things.
Yeah. I'll get you. I can only do 3 voices,
Yo,
really.
you do a good Skeletor.
Thank you.
Hey, you!
It's
fellow
really in my
bloodbender.
wheelhouse, I think, Skeletor. My very first NPC voice was I was trying to do the Monarch from the Venture Brothers in my very first time DMing.
That is also very close to...
Yeah.
I
After,
think one of my first NPC villains was a guy named Skelejon who would just make skeleton puns at the enemy. That was his whole thing.
Why, hello there, adventurers. I've got a bone to pick with you.
Obviously, I opened with that. Come on. What is this? Elementary school?
Yes.
yes, it was the Lord of the Lance Rockets from Prince of the Apocalypse, and the only thing I remember from that appearance was he got his ass kicked, and like one of the last things he said was, "Well, you can still give up." That's it.
Anyway, so eventually we are going to have to choose a setting.
Nah. No, we do. Okay. It sounds like chat likes the idea of a Prohibition-era fantasy setting.
I think I also like that idea.
Fantasy City. Okay. Daniel's on board. Jay and Timothy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Okay.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
Do we want it to be Waterdeep or Greyhawk or wherever?
I
What-
vote, like, that's sort of up to you. Like, I'm almost saying maybe Neverwinter instead of Waterdeep, just because it's
Yeah,
like
just because
more...
we've been in Waterdeep a lot in
Sure.
other shows.
Neverwinter also feels more intimately linked with sort of magic, and there's also, like, portals to the underworld, and fucking there's Evernight, and there's the Eldritch dimension Evernight, where everything's made of tentacles. I don't want to go to that
Okay,
dimension.
wait, hold on.
I've decided.
Alright.
I changed my mind. That sounds terrible.
Oh, let me pull up my Sword Coast Adventurers guide. Let's see if there's any other cities in...
There's Baldur's Gate.
There is Baldur's Gate. I was just about to say Baldur's Gate.
Why don't we set it in Thay?
Oh, we could set it in Thay. Ugh.
Ooh.
Gross.
Or Cholt's an option.
Or we could do Choltz. Ooh, Port Nyanzaru
Chult
would be kind of
cool.
cool.
See, Port Nyanzaru, you could actually add like a whole other dimension to the Eldritch element. It's like long forgotten, because it's like Chult is all about long forgotten gods.
Got a lot of that. I'm
Yeah,
playing an
sure.
adaptation of Tomb of Annihilation right now. My DM's calling Axiom of Annihilation. And she's made a bunch of changes to it, but a 1920s Chult.
1920s.
Oh, would that be like...
I was thinking
I'm just
some
thinking
just
of
like
all the weird Safari Explorer type people that would
I was
come
thinking,
up in
like,
1920s Chult.
Casablanca, Morocco flavored Cholt's.
Literally just thinking Casablanca.
I've never seen Casablanca.
So is it like literally Casablanca, where there's like warring opposing factions in sort of a neutral city, where we have like people going to Rick's, cafe, and like there's like resistance people and also like illithids across singing their little song.
So, okay,
Probably.
CC just suggested 1920s Kalimshan, and like obviously I'm very biased because I love Kalimshan, but I will still defer to you.
I mean, that would be interesting, but...
Come
What-
on, release a Kalimshan. Well, actually, I think I have released a Kalimshan book. I just
What
didn't
what
buy it yet.
set what city interests you, and what city do you like?
I
Quick, say whatever makes us happy.
Whatever you all want. I'm here to. No, okay. Oh boy, that's hard.
I actually don't. I literally have no preference, like no strong preference for city.
I'm indecisive, so this is not going to be helpful. I see appeals to all of them. Like Waterdeep is nice because it's big and kind of famous, but as Jay said, we've had a lot of streams in Waterdeep. I like Neverwinter. That's why I set Bar Crawl in Neverwinter. It was because I was like, screw you, Waterdeep. Neverwinter is cool too.
Right.
So I'd be down for Neverwinter. It is an interesting location, kind of on the Sword Coast, and you get the north. But boy, Chult and Port Nyanzaru is really appealing to me right now.
We can have guys. We can have Illithids fighting dinosaurs.
Like, because there's the jungle is like, it's not like that's gonna get, totally clear cut.
I was gonna say, are we gonna have like a
years.
horrible industrial era, like all these just awful factories that have clear cut? Are we gonna have like Amazon rainforest type deal with the Chult jungle? I really hope not. I made myself sad now.
A Warforged Knoll in a 3-piece suit.
Yep.
That's what Jay is gonna play now. Like
Probably.
Yeah.
You're
Which is
a
fine.
Warforged
That's
Knoll. I love
Yeah,
To be
what's
fair-
to say that they don't make Warforged shaped like different things? I'm down.
To be fair, Iron Knoll is a great character. Like I automatically love them.
Ironina.
Let's see.
Iron.
Hyphena?
No, it doesn't work. I have to figure it out.
Hyphena, like Fe, the symbol for. Okay.
Hyphena, sure.
Hemina. No wait, that's not why hemoglobin is called that.
Okay. Hear me out. Barovia in the 1920s. It's still terrible.
Okay.
Oh my
Well,
god.
then you're direct Hollywood
We're just
Dracula.
going back to fucking Celadon. That's what that is.
Yes.
Fair point.
That's from a
no
different
offense, I really like Celadon.
That's from a different campaign setting, though. It's from Elsevier, technically. It's one of my homebrew settings. No one could have known that. Okay. I am between Chult and Neverwinter. That's what I'll say.
We could do both.
You certainly could.
I mean, if we
Do we want to like
have
vote?
the trope of the people from civilization journey into a place of mystery, and Neverwinter is the civilization, or whatever.
I feel like we
Vice
would have
versa.
figured out the mysteries of Chult by the 1920s.
So Soup just mentioned this in chat. TOA is commercialized now, so I'm just imagining now, like, the Tomb of Annihilation is just like a tourist trap with tour guides going through it.
Yeah, like old.
Tomb of Annihilation,
Oh, man.
sponsored by Wendy's.
But like how, like in Egypt, you could just walk through all these ancient tombs, and you just gotta, pay $10 or whatever. And yeah, why
Don't
wouldn't
touch
that be?
anything
Just
or
don't
you'll
touch
die.
If we make that sort of consumerism suitably grotesque, that could be just an amazing setting. And like, I was initially like Neverwinter for sure, and now I'm not so sure.
I mean, Chult is kind of, because they're run by merchant princes, so they are certainly a merchant-focused city.
Oh, they would totally do that. Like the instant they got the chance.
If they were able to.
But like, it only takes one adventure to beat the tomb, and now it's a tourist trap. Okay, maybe more than one adventure. Maybe like 5. I'm like all of a sudden all in for 1920s fantasy. We haven't even started on character creation yet, guys.
No.
But if we don't, we can talk about that in a second. But if we don't, I have a backup plan.
Unlocking setting, I think, is key to all. So
Yeah, we can always have
we talk about this.
a second session 0 as well. But depending on how much homebrewing I have
Session
to do.
0.5.
Session 0.5. Because I think Yeah, because I think Phantom Horizons has 2 session zeros, technically. Sorry. Chat's funny right now. Okay. Whew.
I like the ultra commercialized Chult. I also love like Mage College aesthetic for an apocalypse an Eldritch Neverwinter.
Well, and Marty in chat did say that it is effective to have kind of a familiar city kind of feel. So that's not necessarily a point against Port Nyanzaru, but it is.
It's definitely a point for Neverwinter.
It's a point for Neverwinter, I think.
Again, if we're doing specific cities, we can do both. It is a boat ride to get between them.
Well,
and
or
like
a plane now, or an airship.
That is true. Oh, a biplane. Oh, that's gonna be great. I'm gonna
still thinking
try
like
and
an
be.
entire arc at sea.
I'm gonna try to be like the decisive person because I think we're all kind of mixed. I think Neverwinter would be a lot of fun. Just because it's right in the thick. But then again, see, I wanted to be the decisive person. Now I'm thinking, but also chill though. No, I think Neverwinter would be a lot of fun though.
Jay, what do you think?
I really like the Nyanzaru idea because, if I'm being honest, one, it was my idea, and I just really like that. Just the Casablanca flavor to it, just like this neutrality moment in this.
Actually,
it's like neutral area, some unknown. Like we can start in one place and end up in the other, and if we do both, I like the idea of starting in Neverwinter and then going to Nyanzaru.
Okay.
Hi, I'm on the scene reporting for you for Radio Free Neverwinter. God, I have to practice doing that voice. I'm gonna need to like have some canned lines.
Look up a whole lot of things with the transatlantic accent on them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, but I mean both. Yeah, both. Why not both?
¿Por qué no los dos?
So, here's a thought. I mean, if it is onwardly, to coin a phrase, onwardly progressed in time, as modern conveniences become more available and convenient, is magic less used? Not that it isn't there, but is it less? Is it, like you were saying, considered to be a little quaint, or like, well, dude, you didn't have to do that. Like, you could have just flipped a switch. Like, just as a question to the table, philosophically or conceptually.
I think
is it less common, or is it everywhere?
I think my vibe is probably less common, but no less powerful. Like
right, no less powerful, but right. Andy, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think it's just. I think it's not the first thing people think of anymore. It's not. It's so if you use magic, I do think it might be a little bit like, whoa, okay, well, somebody's showing off.
It would be like showing up with a quill when you could bring a ballpoint pen.
Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, no, that's great. It took you 6 seconds and you threw bat guano at me. No, cool. Or I could have flipped this switch.
Right.
It's called a lighter, genius. Very easy to get one. It's about
like
$2 or 5 cents in 1920 money.
Okay. So I think so. Certainly, if someone wants to play a magic user, there are still you can. It's college attendance of people who go to the Arcane College of Neverwinter or whatever. It's like people who learn Latin. There are still people who learn Latin. I know a high school teacher of Latin.
More useful than Latin.
I took Latin in high school, but
no offense.
I didn't like.
I like this. I like this a lot.
Okay. Okay.
You know what? If we want to be like maybe travelers from Neverwinter who are like moving to Chult somehow.
So the only thing I want to avoid with that idea, and this was a criticism of Tomb of Annihilation when it came out, is that can feel a little bit like white saviorism. It's the people from the Sword Coast are going to help all the black people in Chult. That I don't want to do that, and I'm not saying that that's what you were suggesting. I'm saying that is a criticism of Tomb of Annihilation when it came out, and it is coming out again.
Very big criticism.
Because
there's a lot of colonialist stuff attached to that setting. Yep.
Well, and
WotC is allegedly fixing it. They didn't really fix it, though.
I guess that also ties into, like, the thing is, if we do, like, if we sort of amp up the element, they've commercialized it, that also, I don't want to say that feeds into it, but, like, we'd have to handle that in a certain way.
Yeah, okay.
I have to go to the washroom. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So that kind of idea, though, is the main thing that's keeping me from doing both Neverwinter and Port Nyanzaru.
That's cool.
Like,
Port Nyanzaru sounds great. I mean, Neverwinter can be. I mean, it's obviously on the map, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You can certainly go wherever you want. It's still the Forgotten Realms,
right?
If you're like, I want to go to the Moonshae, I'm like, okay, give me a week and I'll figure out what 20s Moonshae.
That's cool,
looks like.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I'm ever just clearly stretching, it's because I don't know what you're doing or where you're going. If I have to think of the 1920s, I can't even remember. Yeah, Mastika. Okay. Did you say that in the chat, Marty? Sorry, I might have missed that. Ow. I did miss that. Marty suggested flipping sort of the...
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
What's that?
Flipping the kind of the script. It's the Chultans go and save kind of Neverwinter or Waterdeep from the Red Sky apocalypse that's happening there. Which is my next question of how into the apocalypse are we? Like, how far has it started yet? Has it not started?
Well, it depends. I mean, if we take the idea that it's already happened, or at least some events have happened, and people, at least some of the characters or the quest giver is aware, like it could be, I mean, it's up to you, right? And I guess us, but like, how widespread, how known things are, what level of awareness, what level of severity, are these isolated incidents? Is it this one fucking event that happened, like 9/11 or something? Or is it, you know what I mean? I like the idea of there being at least some established, like we aren't day one, or pre-day one, that there's some level, whether everyone's aware of the same level or not. Just because I think that it mixes the whole 1920s analog thing up a little bit more by taking it into a third, maybe sci-fi area, or like less recognizably analogous. So it isn't like this is the Waterdeep version of, Lucky Strike cigarettes or this or that, but just that there's another
True
element
Strike
that's in story. You know what I mean? That's in plausibly affecting things too. Just I don't know. I think that it takes us, like, we as players know fantasy. We know the Forgotten Realms. We as beings know our history of our own world, and it's easy to sort of think you know what's going on, or to feel complacent in that, and maybe there's an opportunity with that blend, that evolution, and also this incursion idea to take it to another, like we go 180 and then we go 180, but then hey, there's another 180 degrees. You know what I mean? Like there's another element to the story. That's just my very windy 50 cents, 2 bits.
I only got half of it.
So you got 25
Congratulations
cents.
on your bet.
You got 1 bit.
I can buy a quarter gumball with it.
What are you thinking, Jay?
I don't exactly know yet.
And Daniel, the question was, how far into the apocalypse are we? Like, is it
I don't even
day
know
one?
if I would.
Is it?
I don't even.
It's over and no one knows it yet.
I don't
What
even
I
think
what I had said, Dan, was that I thought that at least some degree had happened, and that some awareness of events was existent in our world, whether or not it was widespread or more isolated. That knowledge, that was the stuff you missed mainly.
I like the idea of the apocalypse either happening or like. I like the idea of either the apocalypse happened and we won, or their apocalypse is currently going on, but we're still able to actively fight it. Like our society hasn't been totally fucked by it yet.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at, is we're either at the point where it's like, the apocalypse happened, it's done, and we're cleaning up, or we're at the, like, keep calm and carry on stage of the apocalypse.
I really like keep calm and carry on
Like,
stage.
it's happening, but we have a handle on the situation.
It also plays into the whole Casablanca idea too, of like, so shit is happening, but nothing's settled yet, and there's a lot of shades of gray. There's some deep polar opposites as far, but then there's a lot of gray. So we get
really
an element of noir too, maybe, you know.
That adds on to the element of like, you are the heroes of this, even though it's a Lovecraft setting, because right now is a pivotal point, and 1 second, I want you to do something about it. That's what Uncle Sam wants. You're gonna let down Uncle Sam? You're gonna not? Fair enough. He hasn't exactly been great over the past 400 years.
Nope.
Then there's a whole other idea to consider with the update of like,
oh my god, Timothy,
what are the governments
like?
like?
Uncle Sam poster. I'm sorry, but I just realized that.
The idea of like, you know, the things in our world analogous to Forgotten Realms or feudal systems, roughly speaking, right? And now, in the 1920s, there were still some monarchies, as there are today, but there were a lot of democracies, and there were some, you know, and like, what's the world like now? What are the elves like? What are the, you know, I don't know. It's just something we make up as we go along, or we, you know.
The dwarves and gnomes, I feel, just kind of rolled with it. It's like, nope, this is great. Let's just keep going, keep doing what we're doing.
Look, I'm going to use this opportunity to dunk on some elves. I'll tell you what. Like, elves did not change. I'm telling you that right now. What is this? Fire?
Like Thranduil?
Yeah.
Thranduil turning his nose down on a dude in a 3-piece suit with a haircut. He's like, please.
So impractical. I can't get up in that tree where you've put your like. I don't. How am I supposed to visit you? You have your house is like 20 feet off the ground. It's not. There's no ladders. There's no escalator. There's nothing.
Yeah, there's like big news about like elves resisting any sort of regulation of their homes by requiring handrails and things like that for safety.
Elves against OSHA.
Right, exactly.
We refuse to unionize. It's beneath us.
This is the world where the Empire of Lee's folks just completely fucking lost. Just got completely owned.
I did a dab.
I remembered I have that power.
You do. Everybody's redeeming their things. Okay. I think I'm going to put my flag in. We're doing Port Nyanzaru.
I agree.
I think
that's a good thing.
Let's see. What? Okay.
Great Eldritch War Port Nyanzaru, like that type of vibe.
Yeah. So I think we're into the apocalypse. I think it's being, quote, handled. Whether or not that's by... Well, it won't be by you all, because that'll probably be the start of the story. It's being handled, and then where do we go from there? Let me work out some of the details on that. We have about 25 minutes left, so there's two ways we could do this. One, we could just log off now and build characters off-stream. We could try and talk about characters in the last 25 minutes. Or we could do something we've never quite done before, which is everyone build your character separately and then just tell me about it, and then I'll work it all together. So that's kind of it's a much more kind of I guess like classic. It's you showed up to a con and here's your elf ranger, and how does that work with the Goliath cleric and the drow barbarian?
Yep, that's me, the drow barbarian.
We can do that. I mean, I'm down to just talk for 20 minutes about stuff too. At least to sounds like Dan has an idea for a character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have so much an idea for a character as this is definitely the character I'm gonna do. Sorry. You can't stop me, it's already started.
I mean,
Are they
my
human?
brain has been fixated on Mechanical Noel in a three-piece suit ever since Soup brought it up, so...
Do you want to just do characters now? Because I feel
That's
like we've
fine.
already kind of got
We can-
ideas.
Yes,
Is
we are
Timothy, are you okay with it?
I was saying I'm happy to talk about this stuff, so yes. And I was saying that you have an idea for a character. Go ahead, talk about it.
So, old-timey radio host, probably like to some degree is sort of, we all have to do our part to stop the apocalypse, like very sort of upstanding citizen, like maybe also low-key, like at the very least portrays an upstanding citizen, maybe might not be as upstanding in his day-to-day life. Initially, I thought sort of human, because I didn't know it was going to be a fantasy setting. Now I'm definitely thinking changeling, just because I think that really... You have a lack of face for radio is a line that I want to use at some point during this campaign. Jay likes it. Don't lie, Jay, you love it.
Just there's something especially both like... There's just something cruel about the phrase, you have a face for radio, just because, like, it sounds like a compliment.
But is it?
Yeah, it's... Hey.
It's absolutely not, but,
Yeah.
like, if you just hear it and don't think about it, it sounds like a compliment.
It's the backhanded insult of all time. And I like that is the tagline for my character, is has a face for radio, sort of.
Like that's how you're known? The face of radio.
The face of... Oh my god, the face of radio is the 1,000 faces of radio.
But your face isn't a radio. It's not even hard. It's soft.
Can be if I want
Refreshing.
to.
It does radiant damage.
That's why I spend 2 hours every morning on makeup, so I can deal radiant damage. I don't think he would talk like that all the time, but he definitely would on air.
Oh no, go full Nathan Explosion on it. Always
I don't
use
know
your,
if
like,
I can do
on-air
that.
voice.
That seems like
Andy-
it'd be very difficult.
Andy, are you interested in using any of the stuff from that book?
If you want to, feel free. If you wanted to...
Yeah,
be
I
the
don't
cat.
know specifically if I do or not necessarily. I'm just curious because I know that there's those other spell component.
Oh,
things they do, which to play into the whole modern setting and danger of magic. Like regular magic, sure, shit can go wrong, but there's that formula thing where like anybody could cast a spell as a formula, certain spells, and there's always some backlash effect, and whether it succeeds or not. And then there's additional components of like time, additional casters. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious if any of that.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. Partially to kind of play up the idea that like, well, it's 500 years later. We've certainly learned something else about magic, but also the idea that like people are maybe just getting a little more reckless with it. It's like
a hack, a magic hack, you know, and they post it or whatever, and it's
Hack
like, okay,
magic.
it works sometimes.
Yeah. And I will send Daniel and Jay this PDF. So if you do want to reference it, you can. It's real thick.
an amazing
You obviously
resource.
don't have to read it, but skim through it and see if there's anything you like in there, player option wise or anything like that. But yeah, no, I think. I think so. I'm gonna try and find. I think I have another PDF that might be applicable that I will send to you all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if Daniel wants to do sort of a radio personality changeling, what are you thinking? A bard? What's the class? Sorry,
Definitely a bard.
bard. Okay.
Without a doubt.
Jay, some manner of warforged tiefling in a 3-piece suit. Or I'm sorry, Noel.
Noel.
Yeah,
Thank
tiefling
you.
in a 3-piece suit is the thing I always think of. That's me getting ahead of myself.
No, I did that one recently.
Man's best friend, also man's worst nightmare.
You're like introducing the players as they come.
Can I do that, Andy, please?
That's how you have to inspire everyone.
Oh yeah, excellent.
You have to come up with
Yeah.
taglines for them.
Oh, that was given. I
Yeah.
was going to do that anyway.
Um,
You don't need to ask me.
okay.
What level are you thinking? If we're making
That's
characters on
another
our own.
great question. Let's go. Oh man, you have to stop the apocalypse,
Right?
but it's still supposed to be hard. Let's start at 6.
Okay. 6th level.
Wonderful, I get my next bard ability at 6th level. I
Um,
don't actually know what kind of bard I want to be.
oh, and I want to talk about.
The loud kind of bard.
I want to.
Sorry, I'm my mic away from the stage.
College of Bluster.
I think someone just released a College of the Belter.
Oh, didn't there's that College of Opera that the opera geek.
Mhm.
Oh yes.
There is
too.
there is a college of eloquence, and I might have to just.
Oh,
pick
that's the new one in the Theros book.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
It's been described as the bardiest bard that ever barded. I still think lore bard is the way to go. Always.
Lord bard is.
It's real good.
6th level, magical
Um,
secrets before everybody else.
Okay.
Extra
So,
proficiencies.
Yeah, but can we at least agree that College of Swords has the coolest name?
College of Swords is also awesome, and I love a Valor Bard. Actually, I built a Gandalf. It's a Valor.
I'm gonna need to hear the story once we're off stream.
Okay. I haven't played it yet.
No, I think I think Bard is the best way to build Gandalf because it's too many levels and everything else to make him work
Right,
otherwise.
and he inspires,
Yeah.
the people.
Okay.
He also kind of sucks at magic,
Oh,
actually.
he's the
which makes
worst
sense
at
for a
magic.
bard.
But he also can fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I made him a Valor Bard, because he gave combat inspiration and then an Asimar.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, because he's an angel person. No,
Right,
Gandalf
right,
knows
'cause-
3 spells. He knows light, telekinesis,
Hey,
and
heat metal.
fireworks.
He uses heat metal on Aragorn's sword
Okay.
in the forest.
He does.
Which was
By
the
the way,
strongest
Timothy,
argument
your
to making him a bard initially for me, because I was like, he does that so specifically. He makes his. It's so cool. It's like drops his sword, counterspell, shit like that. Anyway, I'll show you. I'll link. I think I saved it in D&D Beyond.
Oh.
I'll link it if you guys are interested.
Anyway,
The one time you went up against someone else who actually had magic, and you just got his ass handed to him.
That's Nazgul. Yeah, he got and Saruman.
Yeah.
That's good, though.
The fight with Saruman is my favorite part of that movie, specifically for when Saruman wins and Gandalf's just kind of spinning in the circle, and that's such a dick move, Saruman. It's just he's old.
I'm gonna make you puke, Gandalf.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make you puke.
He just can't reach his staff. It's great. I love those movies. Okay, I want to talk about building characters differently than normal, but we'll talk about I'll
How
just
so?
Just
Reader's Digest version.
Moving away from race stuff.
Okay.
The specifically ability scores.
Did you see the? I think it was James Introcaso. Someone published something. Or was it the other James? James Haig.
They both have done it. I like James Haig's more than James Introcaso's. James Introcaso's is complicated. It's not bad. It's just complicated. But I have a product I got recently, and then there's a couple other ones that I think work well. So we'll talk about it. But essentially, if you want to build a character the regular way, I'm not going to stop you.
I'm in the weird position where I would build it the same way no matter what.
That's fine, and that's totally fine.
So Jay, you're looking at Artificer?
Yes.
Okay.
What about you, Timothy? You're the only one I think we haven't.
I'm not sure yet. I'm still sort of mulling about the setting. Jay, what kind of job would your character have? Is Artificer their calling, or are they
part-time Artificer, full-time, ramen chef or whatever?
I like the idea of them being a healer to some degree.
Oh, right. Uh-huh. Cool.
Specialized in prosthetics, maybe?
Not necessarily, because I've already kind of done that with Isabel.
That is true.
Okay.
Well, that's two spelly type people. So maybe I'll go physical world, if that makes sense. We'll see. Although, as you know, mix shit up. So, maybe a battle master fighter who's a cat.
I was just about to say a cat barbarian, not a tabaxi, a cat.
Is someone gonna make the cattle master pun? Or no, wait, that's a cow.
Oh, that's good. Cat boy, cat.
It's confusing to people. You just say cattle master, and they're like, "Where's the cow?" And then this cat appears.
Right. But he's always. He sees a minotaur and he puts it down in a second. I'm the cattle master.
He gets all the milk that he. No wait, cats are lactose intolerant, aren't they?
Yeah, but they love milk.
Try and tell them that.
Yeah, they love it. So, okay, I think we're at a good place. You can obviously always ask questions off stream. And
this is the last opportunity.
So, I'll do that one day, and everyone will be sorry. You'll all be sorry.
Could if you wanted to.
But now let's end it there. We can talk about characters either individually or together, and then we'll figure out a date to start a stream, which will have a name at some point. It might just be Fortnine's art.
We're thinking of Monday nights.
Monday nights once a month, I think, if that works for everybody. But yeah, outros and plugs. Timothy.
Hi, my name is. Thanks for tuning in via the Twitch, via the tubes of you. We are Laughing Dragon in to play. That's all I'm going to say right
Dan.
Hi there. I am Daniel, and proud of it. It's nice. It's just nice to be here and nice to be back. It's a turbulent time. I'm glad that we can all be here together and be good friends, and that makes me very happy.
Yay.
Excellent. And Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay. Be kind. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Black Lives Matter.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'm Andy. Everything everybody just said. Do it. Interact with the screen in some way if you'd like. And if not, I mean, that's fine too. Have a nice day. We'll be back Wednesday. That's about it. Bye.
You can click my face really fast. Bye.